Okay, so with the NRL season reaching its end of season climax to make the top eight, and with the channel not having a list video in a while, I thought it'd be a good idea to combine the two together and make an NRL list video. We're looking at my top five favourite NRL players. To make the list, a couple of criteria. One, got to have seen you play, and two, got to be retired. So that sorts that one out, doesn't it? So the latest player to retire retired last year. All the players have retired within the last 12 years. So I've seen them play quite a bit. And without any further ado, let's dive into it. Now, between these players, there's a lot of first grade games played. I mean, one player did play a lot of time in the Super League as well. So there's a lot of first grade games played at club level. I did not include their representative games played, such as test matches, state of origin, or city country, anything like that. I just focused on their club careers, and there are some really interesting stats, and some of these careers are really, really long. Really long. So we're going to start with Nathan Hindmarsh. He played between 98 and 2012. In total, he played 330 games for Parramatta, 60 tries and one conversion for the Parramatta Eels by Nathan Hindmarsh. Famously never won a grand final, but he is the record appearance holder for the Parramatta Eels. I believe he has the most tackles all time in the NRL era as well, since stats were kept. He completed the most tackles in his career of any player, and of course I believe he also played the most games without winning a grand final. 330 games played at first grade level between 1998 and 2012. Pretty much your prototype second row forwards, engine room of a team. A lot of big carries, a lot of tackling, ball playing into play, a bit of everything. Brilliant for New South Wales, obviously brilliant for Australia, and people do say Parramatta should have won the 2009 NRL grand final because Melbourne were stripped of it. But Nathan Hindmarsh has come out and said, no, we don't want a retrospective awarding of the title. We lost on the field and that's how it should remain. We wouldn't feel comfortable with it. But Nathan Hindmarsh, captain of the team for many years, and of course, as I say, record appearance holder for the Parramatta Eels, and was inducted into their Hall of Fame in 2018. He's been involved in the media now for quite some time on the Fox network. Great sense of humour, and of course the running joke is he never won a grand final, whereas all his co-hosts have all won grand finals. But no, Nathan Hindmarsh makes my top five. Number four, Michael Ennis. 274 games played across a multitude of clubs, 37 tries, 110 goals. That's penalties and conversions. His career lasted from 2003 until 2016. His final game was winning the grand final with the Cronulla Sharks in 2016 against the Melbourne Storm. I think Michael Ennis gets overlooked because of Cameron Smith as potentially one of the best hookers the game has seen in the modern era. I think Cameron Smith overshadows him a little bit. I think he is underrated, and also ultimate pest on the field. Ultimate pest on the field. There is no shadow of a doubt. On the field, he could wind up opponents. Very famously, had a running spat on the field with Nathan Hindmarsh for several seasons. They did not get on when they played against each other. But Michael Ennis, I think, he had a few injuries in there. Was a bit of a journeyman at times. He did bounce around the league a little bit, but a fantastic distributor of the ball. He could kick goals, score tries, set up tries. Tenacious in defence. Wasn't the smallest number 9, not the biggest, but aggressive in defence. And also was a club captain at the Canterbury Bulldogs for a while. Also, like Nathan Hindmarsh, a lot of grand finals played, didn't win one, and then suddenly in his last ever game he wins one. Number 3 on the list is Jarrod Croker, former Canberra Raiders captain. 307 games played in his career, 136 tries. I believe he's the top try scorer for the Canberra Raiders. 915 goals. His career lasted from 2009 until last season in 2023. 2,374 points in total, only behind Cameron Smith. Injuries the last few seasons really hampered his career. He was beset by injury for the last 3-4 years of his career, which really hampered him. Couldn't complete a full season. Was struggling with knee and shoulder problems, which was a bit of a problem. But he still scored, over 2,000 points. Played over 300 games, and scored over 130 tries. That's not bad going. Not bad going. It amazes me he only played City Country and didn't play State of Origin. With that many games played, that many points scored, that many tries. But injuries hampered his career towards the end. Otherwise, he would have played closer to 350, 360 games maybe. Could have been playing right now this season. Missed a lot of game time the last few years of his career with injury, which is a massive, massive shame. A fantastic player. Great servant to the Canberra Raiders. Very similar to Nathan Hindmarsh. Never won a grand final. Appeared in only the one grand final in 2019, but never actually won one. And that's another ongoing running joke, is another player who failed to win a grand final. Number 2, the only English player on this list who did also play in the Super League, and that's Adrian Morley. Possibly one of my favourite players. Possibly one of my favourite players of all time. His career spanned from 95 till 2015, a 20-year career. Let that sink in. In total in the NRL and in the Super League, 497 games played by Adrian Morley. 54 tries he did score in that time. That is a ridiculous amount of first-grade games. We're not even including his international appearances. I mean, that is a lot of rugby league. 20-year career. Earlier in his career, he had a better try-per-game average. He was scoring more regularly. As his career went on, the try-scoring dropped off. The physicality didn't. I've never seen a player with so many sin bins and red cards and send-offs and suspensions. Think of it. His time in the NRL, he was suspended a lot. His time in Super League, he was suspended a lot. Can you imagine if he wasn't suspended as much? He would have had well over 550 first-grade games, if not more, maybe 560. So I combined his NRL and Super League totals together. That is a ridiculous amount of games. I have done a career video on Adrian Morley. He's probably my favourite forward ever to play the game. He's the only English player that makes the top 5. And people will be surprised by that because, obviously, I live in the UK, but I was very, very fortunate to watch Adrian Morley's entire career. And on the field, absolute animal. Absolute animal. Off the field, he's the nicest guy in the world. But Adrian Morley, one of the toughest players to play the game. And yes, he did overstep that mark quite a bit. He had a fair few suspensions, including the quickest send-off in international rugby league as well, straight from the kick-off against Australia. Just took the guy out, straight armed him, knocked him out within 2-3 seconds, and he's off. So Adrian Morley has an unwanted record with the quickest send-off in rugby league history. Now, my favourite NRL player is Cooper Cronk. 372 games played with the Storm and the Roosters, 101 tries, 5 conversions or penalties, but 21 field goals in a career that spanned 2004 to 2019. Possibly the best halfback in the game, in my opinion. There's been some great halfbacks who've had some clutch plays, but Cooper Cronk, potentially one of the most underrated halfbacks in the game as well. I would say he's the prototype halfback, 6 or 7. Great kicking game, but also look at those field goals, clutch scoring. If it was a tight game and you needed to get that extra point, or if it's in golden point, you want to have Cooper Cronk 20, 30, 40 metres out, pinging it over. I mean, he could read a situation, read what's in front of him exceptionally well, and to win those last 2 grand finals with the Roosters, especially one of them with a broken shoulder, he didn't back down from the physicality. He is a smaller player. I think he's the smallest player on the list for size, maybe about the same size as Michael Ennis. He didn't back down from the physicality of the game, especially when you've got players like an Adrian Morley or an Nathan Hindmarsh, that kind of player running at him. He would stand in the defensive channel. He wouldn't shirk his defensive responsibilities. And again, some injuries in there, but he still managed to play 372 games. You could say some of the injuries, could he potentially played 400? It's potential. Potential is there to have potentially played 400. But look at the players that I've got on this list. Michael Ennis has the fewest games played at 274. And he had a great long career as well between 2003 and 2016. Adrian Morley only retired in 2015. I remember watching him in the mid-2000s with Warrington when he came back to Super League after his stint with the Sydney Roosters. Jerry Croker only retired last year. His body had just given up. Had he not had those injuries, I think he would still be playing. He's the same age as me. Michael Ennis, he's played a few less games. He's played the least amount of games. But ultimate pest, gets overlooked as a hooker because of Cameron Smith. Cameron Smith dominates the number 9 role historically. Most points of all time. Gary Croker comes second with that. But Mickey Ennis, potentially one of the best hookers who didn't get a shot, really, at Australia because of Cameron Smith. And Nathan Hindmarsh. We've got a lot of club captains on this list. And great players. I mean, Gary Croker is the only one on this list not to have played international rugby league for his country. So there's that. There's some great players on the list. I mean, I could have had a top 10 or a top 15, and there are some honourable mentions in there as well. The Morris twins, for example, with what they brought to the game, and they had some great careers themselves. Mitch Orbison is another one. I've done a career video on him. There are some Super League players. If I did my favourite rugby league players of all time, like Earl Crabtree, done a career video on him, who could have made the list, but I decided to keep the list short. And the list is subjective. Everyone's going to have their favourite players that they've seen play. And there we go. So there's my favourite 5. Place your thoughts in the comment section below. Who is your top 5 or top 10 or top 15? It is all subjective. It is all for fun. Of the NRL players that have retired that you've seen play. Thanks for watching. Place your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll have some more content for you guys very, very soon.